Stephen Cabana is the Deputy Director of Economic Development for the City of Sherbrooke, where he's dedicated to building a thriving ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship. A proud Sherbrooke local, Stephen has a deep passion for connecting people, ideas, and resources to drive meaningful change in his community. Known for his approachable leadership style, he thrives on fostering collaboration between businesses, researchers, and public organizations to bring bold ideas to life. Stephen, thank you for joining me all the way from Canada.
Aitäh, Mäkki-Mill, et mind selleks puhuks kutsusite.
Your Estonian is pretty good.
Oh, very good.
To start it off, can you take me on a journey to Sherbrooke?
Yeah.
What kind of a city is it?
Well, Sherbrooke used to be an industrial city, and it has grown from an industrial city, from an industrial past, to become a knowledge-based city economy, actually. So it's been a long way for it to happen. I'd say it's a rather small community in terms of what we're used to in terms of metropole size. So it's just shy of 200,000 inhabitants in a metropole area that would find about 275,000 people, and where you find 2 universities, which is not very common from a Canadian standpoint. So 2 universities in such a confined area, and 4 colleges as well. So that's why we say we're able to bring, and we've been able to bring, actually, a knowledge-based economy out of it. And it's booming right now. So we've really got out of this industrial past, moving on to this knowledge-based thing. It's situated in Canada. So it's the closest you can be from Boston in Canada. So it's the French part of Canada. It's called Quebec. It's the province. So you go southeastern. I think we have a map.
Can we get the slides?
Yeah.
Right.
So you see the blue dot here. So going to service the New England market you can do that in a day. So you can drive your car to Boston, come back. You can do the same with New York. It's a bit of a stretch because then I'd say you come back the next day. But there's a lot of there's millions of people over there with early adopters. They have money. They adopt technology early. So it's a great gateway to market your product to the US, especially if it's a high value proposition. Because then you're not replaceable, and whether there's tariffs or not, they're going to look at you as a potential provider. As well, I'd like to add that you're in Canada, so you have social benefits, you have a social net, which you don't have south of the border. So a lot of companies are coming to our place to service the American market because of that. It's a little piece of Europe within North America.
And from this new political perspective, Trump won. Do you see this more as an opportunity or more as a challenge? Because I see you're bordering the United States. Do you see business slowing down a bit with Boston, for an example, or with New York?
Well, it's certainly a challenge. I see it personally as an opportunity. The rise of the right-wing Republicans have been putting up in front of our eyes an evidence that we have not been tackling over the years. We need to diversify our markets. We need not to rely on US so much, and we need to add value to our outputs. We need to be more creative. We need innovation and creativity and added value. So if we're going to reach that, then we're going to be more, like I said earlier, irreplaceable. And so we won't be as fragile when time comes to talk about tariffs and stuff like that. So we needed to do that anyways. Why don't we do it right now? Why wait?
What's your personal experience or touch or feel with innovation?
Well, I have an entrepreneurial background myself. I was lucky enough to put up a startup or to join a startup about 15 years ago. It took a while before, the runway to make some money was quite fast, but we did not make a lot of money at the beginning. And very recently, we were able to sell two of the technologies that we've developed. We became an holding company right now. So my point of view on innovation is it drives economy. It drives everything from going to one point, to one level of comfort to the next one. You will only do it through innovation and creativity, and that will bring you value added outputs. And that's what you guys are very good at. That's why we're here. So we need to be, we've done that on a very successful manner in the 1970s in North America, 1960s, 1950s even. It seems that we became very, very comfortable with what we had achieved. And now, I think time has come to take a big leap in terms of innovation. And we're trying to find ways to redo that again. So I was lucky enough to experience on my own. Now we need to do it with local initiatives out of the knowledge-based economy we have. We're lucky enough to have a lot of spin-offs from the universities. We need to take care of them.
I think Sherbrooke has won tremendously by having you as their innovation, I don't know how to say, trailblazer or a front in that sense, because you have that unique dual experience. You have been on one end of the table or on one side of the table, and now you're sitting on the opposite side, but I guess you are still at the same side of the table, but wearing a different type of a role or a different type of a hat. How do you see this unique approach or your unique experience or background helped you in your current work, what you currently do?
Well, it does help. It helps by defining or identifying very clearly where we're heading or where we want to go. But it is a challenge because I work for a city now, so it's a public sector. So you know that you don't do things in a city the way you do it in a startup. So things take more time. You need to you need to use a lot of leadership to onboard people. And I've in terms of patience, I've not been granted so much when I was born, so I need to work on myself. But clearly, we have a huge potential at the City of Sherbrooke. Our service did not exist before April the 1st, 2024, so it's quite recent. We have tons of people with talent. Now we need to make them work together in order to create the value I was talking to you about. We need to, supply know-how to our local innovative young entrepreneurs, so that we can build this added value economy that we're thriving for. So
the City of Sherbrooke, you have just taken ownership of your own economic development, and that happened in 2024, last year April. Was it something that just happened naturally? Was it something that you needed to actively work towards or you just thought that this is the time to now take control of our own economic development? That means to take control of the tax income, take control of KPIs such as employment, value-added labor, these types of things. How did it came to be? Was it something you had to forcefully kind of implement, or did it just happen naturally? Yeah, no, it did not happen naturally. It was a work that somebody else before me did with great vision, I think. We needed to take decisions so that it would have a global impact on the city. And it used to be that our economy or economic services were provided by sectorial partners, and it wasn't as efficient, I think, in terms of having a global
view. So no, it did not come naturally. It took many years. We went from, I think, 6 external partners to 1 right now. So we still have 1 that's in charge of the first line of services. But if you were in Sherbrooke at that time, it made the headlines quite a lot because people felt that they would lose their autonomy. But I think so far we've been showing that we understand the global value of all of that, and now we need to make things happen in terms of getting closer to the businesses themselves.
You mentioned you had 6 external partners. Are you referring to other cities or
no,
other organizations?
They were local
externally?
Partners,
Okay.
so they were subsidized almost solely by the city itself, and they were sectoral partners. So let's say manufacturing, the manufacturing sector would have a specific organization looking after it. Tourism would have one. So those guys would get a budget and they would spend it into their sector without really having a global view of what is needed. And the problem when such things happen is that if there's something arising that's not covered by the sectors, well, it will never be covered. So that's why the city has decided to bring back the budgets and the decisions and take ownership of its economic development. And now we're tackling stuff that wasn't tackled before. International affairs is economical affairs from an international standpoint is one thing. So I wouldn't be here if it would not have been of that, and we wouldn't be looking after opportunities to get know-how on how to accurately accompany our young startups.
How does your startup scene look like? Are they mostly research-based startups? Are they deep tech startups? What's the scene there in Sherbrooke?
What we're seeing now, there's some kind of a maturity, like I think I said before, growing out of the university scheme, and it's mostly deep tech. Clean tech a lot as well, and what we're very good at is to get ideas from the creation phase to technology to being ready to market. What we're not good at is marketing it. We need to find a way to sustain this runway to market, and we haven't been good enough to support those young entrepreneurs. But it's very, very much driven by a deep tech and clean tech as well, a portfolio. One of our portfolios is the quantum business. That's where we've succeeded quite a lot. We do have in Sherbrooke the only innovation zone in the quantum industry in Quebec, and there's about 2 others in Canada, but we're very happy to differentiate from them. And I think we differentiate from most of the hubs in the world in terms of quantum business, and that has drawn a lot of international businesses in Sherbrooke as well. So
can you talk more about the quantum approach that Sherbrooke has taken? How did it came to be? Usually these things don't just spawn out of nowhere. These things require work, dedicated work on bringing really mindfully.
Yeah.
Let's say a quantum hub into Sherbrooke. How did that came to be?
Yeah, I have a little bit of an imposter feeling when I talk about it because I'm not a scientific at all.
Okay.
But I understand how we differentiate, and I like to market it. So I think we have a slide on that. It shows the first one, I think, up there. Yeah, it shows the way we work with it. So it came together as the government of Quebec was wanted to differentiate and find ways to create innovation. So he decided to offer the regions of Quebec the opportunity to create innovation zones. And so we had the liberty to propose any topic. And quantum arose from the university standpoint because about 40 years ago, some major leap was done in Sherbrooke in terms of the quantum computing. From the computing standpoint. So we worked on that, and we were able to build, or they were able to build, the people in the innovation zone and in the Quantum Institute, they were able to build something around academia. So academia has been quite big at it for 40 years. Then they've created the infrastructure, then the shared infrastructure. That's what made the difference. So people have access to hardware from a shared standpoint, so they can buy timeshare access to it. So that has drawn software companies to come in from all around the world. And then it has drawn application people, like young startups wanting to develop applications out of the quantum business, which is the hard part to do. And around that, we have been able to put together a bunch of support organizations. So it doesn't, as opposed to most of the other hubs, it doesn't revolve around academia and hardware. It revolves around all of what I said, and all of those guys are playing together, those that we see on screen. And it's creating value. It is creating exactly what we're looking for. Added value in a niche sector where you're irreplaceable. So that's the kind of service provider we want to be.
But what's the most seen outcome of this? As a normal person, I get this a lot, that's why I'm asking you. A normal person on the street, how can he win? Is there any actionable hardware that people can really feel that makes their lives better? Any applications like this have come out of it so far?
Well, there are quantum applications that we use every day. That we don't consider quantum because it's been the case for so long. But I'll give you a more modern application of it. Mm-hmm. So we have a business among those guys. It's SB Quantum on the right. SB Quantum. They've created a sensor that you embed into a drone. I think you guys are very fond of drones here.
Drones, yeah.
So they embed it in a drone, and it works with a specific diamond, and they're able to read through the Earth's surface if there are magnetic metals to some point, to some depth. And then so that that enables the fact that you can explore the surface of the Earth much easier than going through the actual or the traditional way of drilling and doing samples. So it has a lot of value for mining companies, as an example. But for me and you, on an everyday basis, that's a technological leap that's tremendous. But for me and you, it won't make a difference tomorrow. So we find such applications right now that are being developed. Will we have our own computer in our hands one day from a quantum perspective? I'm being told no, but we never know. There might be a day where we're not there, you and me, that it might happen. But so far, it's not what we're running after. We're running after larger commercial and industrial applications.
That this is actually a really good example of great collaborative innovation. Because I'm sure no one just really came on it on its own, put the diamond inside of a drone, inside of another technology, and then all of this didn't just came together on someone's head. I'm pretty sure it involved quite a lot of, let's say, random approaches or random things happening, right? People came together in a seminar, webinar, they talked, they exchanged ideas, they kind of made some prototype together, they put it essentially in the air, in the drone, and eventually someone created value that someone was willing to pay for. This is a great example of this collaborative effort. I'm really glad you brought it up. So
exactly, and we need to do the same market-wise. Now we need to go to the market, working together, finding people that are aware of that and that are willing to be early adopters. We do have some already, but we don't cover the world. We need to have partners, and that's one thing we brought in Finland, where we were fond to meet with the Finnish mining industry, to let them know that magnetic metals could be at a much cheaper rate discovered or explored. So we need to do the same, but from a market perspective as well.
That's also a very interesting approach you or the City of Sherbrooke has taken. You're kind of representing these companies, and you take the role of what's the more convenient in that sense, like a business developer or a consultant? You kind of represent them in outside markets? Or
well, you used a funny word at the beginning of the interview. You said trailblazer. So I think we're market trailblazers. So we're just establishing the trail, and then the guys who have to sell the product, they do sell the product. Our job is to raise awareness, but we don't sell the stuff. We just raise awareness. We say we have it. It might be good for you. You should be talking to these guys. And yes, it is. It is a unique approach from a city standpoint, because cities don't do that usually. If we're going to diversify our markets, create higher value outputs, we need to market them. So that's why we think we have a responsibility. We need to make it happen.
Why you have resonated me from the beginning, or I guess why I like you and why I invited you here today, is because we are similar in some senses, of course. The first very prominently, in my opinion, what makes us same is our cities are the same size. Tallinn is pretty much the same size as Sherbrooke. And our unique geographical location, and that means our challenge is the same. When doing test in Tallinn or Tallinnovation, I market Tallinn's unique demographic or demo city infrastructure to go to other markets in Europe. And you have this similar challenge or similar opportunity of having Sherbrooke as a demo test site, and then if you have already that reference value, then you can go to Boston, you can go to New York, which are enormous markets.
Exactly. That's why we came to you, actually. We wanted to understand the way you do your test bed here, how you've been able to introduce that into the public sector, into the city you work for. We need to innovate, but once you're able to innovate and introduce your technology within Sherbrooke, then North America is yours. I mean, you're able to go from Sherbrooke to North America, and that would create value in Tallinn or in Estonia if it's an Estonian startup that does it. I mean, the overhead is here. The technology is being developed here. So what we're doing is we're hoping that you guys will see the value of our collaboration that we're hoping to get to put together, because we do open the market as well. And whether there are tariffs or not, I want to make it clear, because this is Trump's game he plays. If you're irreplaceable and if you create value, they will never prevent you from getting to their market. So I want to make it clear. If we're going to provide commodities, then that's not, it won't work. But creating value, being irreplaceable, no one who's intelligent will prevent you from getting to their market.
That's very cool, and that's very true as well, actually. Because why would someone deny great talents, first of all, and it's great companies, right? As second part. How your economic development is going so far? If there's a company right now listening, or let's say thinking that this might be suitable to test something in Sherbrooke, and eventually go into Boston markets, or in New York market, or even Montreal, is something you can help them access to. Then what kind of time frame are we talking about? How long does it take to set up, let's say, a test project?
Okay, so
can we do something this year already, or are you still in too early stages that we would have to wait a bit longer?
No, we're not too early. We are not too early stages. If the technology is ready to market, let's say we have a TRL9 technology, the time frame is quite short. The reason is, those guys that we've put together to take ownership of our economic development, they were doing some very, very good stuff. One thing that they've been doing is to create, how do you say that? They've created hubs that will host technology. So it already exists. So we have host labs, we have host technology offices, we have the quantum space. It's called Quantum Space One. That is an host space for quantum related businesses. So we already have places to host them. We have a process that's separated in 4 stages. I think going through the 4 stages would probably take 6 months. We usually start these phases either in early months of the year, and then they would spend about 5 months before getting, let's say, mature enough to market, or we do it after the summer vacations up to Christmas. But within a half a year, they will know if they're able to market, and we support them because they don't have to pay for where they're being hosted. There might be one exception related to the quantum business. We need to work things out, but all the other places, we're able to support them either completely or partially through their time in Sherbrooke or in the Canadian market. So we support the presence of the company. We do not pay for the salaries, of course. People have to take care of their own self, but the company itself can be hosted. And then we have business concierge that will enable them to get to know the business habits of people in North America, because we don't do the business the same way you guys do. Small talk is something important in the way you do the business in North America. It is not something so prevalent in Finland or Estonia or Nordic countries. So these are things you need to know before you get into the business with your potential customer.
Yeah, I'm terrible at small talk as well. This podcast is a full torture. I'm kidding, of course. But let's talk about resilience. I'm just trying to put myself in a company's shoes, an Estonian company's shoes, or let's say like local company's shoes. Thinking of going to Sherbrooke, going to Canada, opening up my, let's say my talents for Boston markets, then I can think of only one word, that would be resilience. I would need to be, let's say, resilient, right? And ambitious, of course, but most of all, resilient. Perhaps a lesson or challenge from your personal, professional life. How do you stay resilient when an idea or a project doesn't go as planned?
Well, that's a good question. I think you have to have a very good plan, and we have business advisors just like you guys have to make sure this happens, that you have it. You have to refer back to your plan. It does happen more than it doesn't with startups. It doesn't go as planned. I mean, when does it go as planned? So of course, by definition, I think the founder of any startup needs to be resilient. It's not different in Canada. I think one thing that I found different and might help in terms of resilience is we do have local support in terms of business concierge and stuff like that. But we also have initial funding that's not so hard to get once you're able to market your stuff. So as soon as you hit the marketing phase, you're able to unlock potential credits or financial support. So that helps a lot in terms of resilience, and that would be a good thing. Imagine an Estonian startup that wants to have access to the Canadian market. He doesn't start up from scratch. He already has its technology. It's probably ready to market here. He needs to broaden its market. Then if that person establishes a subsidiary in Quebec, as an example, which is our province, as soon as you get your business number, you have access. Even if you're not a citizen, your business is a citizen and you have access to that funding. So that might help in terms of resilience. And that's probably what, once you go through this preliminary phase of marketing, then oxygen comes to you because the funding comes to you. And I've been quite around the world quite a lot. And this initial funding that we have, I haven't found anywhere that I've been. So it's probably a little differentiation that makes it a little easier. And I'm not talking about Canada when I'm saying so. I'm talking about Quebec. It's a unique thing that you will find in the municipalities in Quebec.
Awesome. You've probably worked with hundreds of leaders, hundreds of visionaries. What are the effective leadership skills, or how does it look like in this high tech innovation environment, like, for example, quantum environment? What are the leaders how do they look like? Are they technical in nature? Are they social in nature? Are they engineers? Who are they?
Their profession could be very, very broad in terms of what profession is effective in terms of leadership or in terms of. But you need to be a leader first. So you need to have soft skills. So you said social, I think.
Yeah.
So I would call it having soft skills. You need to make people do what you want them to do without using authority or science or the proof of concept mindset won't work. You need to have people do what you want them to do from a leadership standpoint, and soft skills are so important to that level. To some point, I'm going through it right now as we're leading a team of people that we're working in external organizations with very specific mindsets and sectorial objectives. We need to have them work together, and there are bumps and hurdles that we have to go through because you can't use proof of concept all the time or scientific reasons all the time. You need to make sure they embrace the reason why the company exists, and that's a specific skill. Even though you would have the best technology, I'm not the only one saying so. Everyone has said so before me. But even though you have the perfect technology, if you're not able to have your men and women, walk the same way as you're walking, it will not be working. So I'd say soft skills probably are the set of skills you need to make sure you have before even you have the better technology.
In your past experiences, what is the most practical advice or that you can give to the people who don't, for example, foster these soft skills, or they feel they lack the experience in it? I'll give you a great example. In sales, there is a term called buying line. Have you heard about it? Or no. So imagine there is an X axis and there is a Y axis. On the Y, there's the willingness to buy. Now it goes up and it goes down. And on the X, there's time, right? And the buying line goes like this, basically. With time, it goes up, and then there's the peak buying time, and then it gradually, quite fast, first gradual, then quite fast, it falls down. You probably sensed it yourself when you are staying like online shopping, right?
Yeah.
You look it up, you want to buy it, you want to get like whatever and you look up it, like a car shopping. You probably looked up pickup trucks, thousands of trucks, and then you are basically at the end of placing a bet or placing the product, the order. You have chosen the color, the rims, everything, and then you can back out at the last minute because it went over, right?
And then if you don't do it, you'll never do it then.
Yeah,
I understand.
If you don't do it, you never do it. And that goes the same with, let's say, conversations, with whatever. Everything has a buying line. Every, let's say, relationship has a buying line. And then it kind of goes down. If there's no next challenge, if there is no next features, if there is no next product, it kind of goes away gradually. I would consider this as a soft skill to understand where are you at the buying line. It's especially important if you're a salesperson to understand if the client is still willing to buy or is it over.
Well, that's very interesting. I think there's one more factor that gets involved into the process when time comes to to try to lead a person into your way. One colleague of mine calls it the feeding factor. These people need their jobs because they need to feed their family as well. Not everyone, but some do. So the buying time might be a little longer. So you do have time. You can make mistakes as long as you care. I think the thing that you cannot lack of is caring. You need not too much, but you need to care. You need to show that you care so that you're able to get them on board. So there's probably a little, maybe a longer time span for you to onboard. That's the word I was looking for, to onboard your people. There's one thing, I think that's where you were going when you first started to ask the question. Practical things to say to founders. There's one thing that I've done in the past, and I see that people are doing and they have great success with, is when you're leading your board of directors into a way, and you find that there might be an hurdle that the company will have some problems to go through, you need to back up. You need to say that you're going to back up before the problems happen. And to some point, some people that I know, and I might be one of them, you can create such a situation because people will consider the fact that you've been able to identify an hurdle that the company was not able to go through, and they will grant you with some kind of I don't know the English word for it, but some kind of wisdom for having identified it. So very, very wisely, some founders do put an hurdle and try to put a project together, and then they will back up. And they will say to their board, we're not ready for that. And that changes everything. Because then the board says, okay, he's not going to put us into trouble because of his ambition. Sometimes it's a real trouble, sometimes it's not. But you need to find ways to show your board that you're not going to bring them into your problems because your technology is the best, and you're sometimes a little too emotional about what you're bringing. So that's one practical advice I would give to founders. Maybe that was not your question, but I've taken the opportunity to throw it in.
This is perfect. I would love to kind of get your unique experience and bring this to Tallinn's local ecosystem. So this is your third time here in Tallinn?
Yes, fourth time actually. Fourth time over a 30-year period. It has changed a lot, but it's the second time in 45 days or 50 days.
50 days.
Yeah.
You have met with Tehnopol, you have met with Ülemiste city, have you met anyone else?
Yes, well, I've met with the Canadian Embassy that just opened here. That's very cool because they're willing to support as well, like both ways relationship, inbound and outbound relationship with Estonia. So that's very refreshing for us because I think the Canada is recognizing the value that Estonia can bring to fostering a better relationship with it.
What kind of value have you seen that, let's say, an international entrepreneur should know about when coming here? What have your learnings have been?
Well, we were here 50 days ago. The first thing I did when I got back home was to convince my boss that we needed to go back and quick. Because I found things that really impressed me and still impress me today, and I think it will be impressing me for a while. In terms of value, I don't know exactly how to. I don't know if it's a value, but it's a way of thinking where you guys are focusing on. I'd say your brains. It's as if you need to create value because you need to support yourself. And that doesn't exist where I'm from. We're too comfortable. And it's not like, I don't mean it's the way it should be. It's the way it should not be. But being comfortable makes it that we're not relying on our innovation to bring us somewhere else. I like the fact that, the country, the latest round of, the latest time that when you got your independence is like 34 years ago or 33 years ago. I think that shows. It shows that the country wants to differentiate, wants to establish its own way of doing things. And, I said to someone else earlier today, it seemed to me when I came in November, December, that you guys had said, we're all going to say this to Stephen Cabana. Although you guys don't talk to each other every day, it seemed to me that you had organized a message, and the message was innovation is a key thing and value-added outputs. If you don't do so, you won't be able to support public services. You won't be able to raise taxes that make sense. When you have a 1.3 million inhabitant or people country, you need to be very, very efficient in terms of value creation. Otherwise, how can you support, public services like you guys do? Same thing on the other side of the Baltic Sea. The Finns, there are 5.4 million people. They have better public services than we do, and we're 40 millions, and we're kind of public service oriented. We're not the US. So it's amazing when you see that. So that's why I wanted to come back, and we need to find this recipe. And we more specifically need to raise awareness, just like you guys have been able to do it. I think it's a generational process that you've been through, but it's fantastic. It's very, very inspiring from a North American standpoint.
Awesome. That's very great to hear. Well, yeah, you have been an excellent observer, I guess. All of these things you mentioned are true. There's lack of natural resources to exploit. Mm-hmm. Therefore, you need to turn to, well, other means of value. Value add is great. Innovation is great. And in our case, there's nothing else to do as well, because what else you're going to focus on?
Yeah.
So that's a great point. On the last episode, I talked with Martin Koroshko from Tehnopol, and I asked him in terms of future, what if he were to start a startup? If he were to start a company now, a startup company, then what would he focus on? What kind of industry would he go in? And he answered that it would be most likely defense technologies.
Okay.
And so I'm just curious to kind of see what would your point of view on that be, coming from North America, as you said. Perhaps life's been good, and it will most likely be good in the future as well. You mentioned you're very good at quantum. You're also very, very good at clean tech. Is it something you would bet your own resources on in a 2-year span or 3-year span as well, if you were to start a company right now?
It's funny because, it's not funny. It's interesting because it's very much, my answer is very much related to our own geopolitics or our own markets. I understand why Martin answered defense-related opportunities when time comes to talk about creating a company here in the Baltics. The reality is not the same. Although defense opportunities have risen a lot in Canada. In Canada, you used to never talk about that. It was even a word that you wouldn't mention because you would be seen from a distance a bit. But now we talk about it. However, I would go the water tech way, or clean tech related to water use. That's becoming a huge issue. Although we have lots of water, we need to make it available to people, and it's becoming an issue. And it's also becoming, because we have a lot of water, there's a lot of people that have been working on the opportunities that water bring, and I think that would be a technology. It is actually a technology that we're able to market everywhere around the world. I was in Namibia and South Africa just prior to coming here in November, and Namibia 2 years ago, and it's absolutely crazy how they work to find water. We have technologies that are able to service that, and I think there will be more technologies needed. So if I were to be a young scientific wanting to create a startup that would thrive all around the world, water would be my first bet, actually. And from an investor standpoint, which I happen to become because of an entrepreneurial background that ended up being not too bad. That's what I look for.
Awesome. Is there something you would definitely like to add to this episode, or something you would want to get out there, something we haven't discussed yet?
Well, there's one thing that I want to tell you guys. The way you care about startups, scale-ups, unicorns, other monsters, that's worth value. That's worth something, and that's scalable. You can do something about. That's what I run after. So sometimes we want to export the companies themselves. but just the way you take care of the companies, that's a product itself. And I think it's scalable. So maybe you know already, but I wanted to, you guys should be proud of the way you're doing that and what you're putting all around those scale-ups and startups. We always tend to believe that it's greener on the outside from, on the neighbor's yard. But from that perspective, I can tell you that your grass is green, and you should be proud of it.
Very cool, and I truly feel thankful that that I have this kind of, let's say, network like you as well. There's a saying, I guess that's an African saying: if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I'm truly grateful that we can step on this road together and hopefully create something valuable for the future in collaboration.
Great. Well, hopefully, let's make it happen.
Thank you for coming to this episode, Stephen.
Aita.